up, all my beings of light, art, culture, of knowledge, and all that good shit? Welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. Thank you for being here with me. It's your man, the host, none other than yours truly, the one and only Governor Wildstar, governor of me, myself, and I. You damn right about that for sure. I appreciate all of you for being here with me because I got a fantastic guest who I actually had to reschedule a few weeks ago to come back on. He wasn't able to be on the show due to other difficulties, but I was able to lock him in this time around, and he is here with me on the Black Side of Liberty. So I'm going to be introducing to you Mr. E.F. Havoc, aka Hunter Froelich, who is running for Minnesota House of Representatives. Here he is, Hunter. Welcome to the Black Side of Liberty, my man.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. I appreciate you for being here with me. So let's see. E.F. Havoc, that's your rap name. And you're also a candidate running for Minnesota House of Representatives. So if you could just introduce the people out there to who you are, tell them a bit more about yourself and why you planned on or how you came around to wanting to run for Minnesota House of Representatives.
For sure. Yeah, I'm a rapper, F Havoc, and I'm also a candidate for the Minnesota State House for District 10B. So some of my music, if you check it out, not a lot of it right now, actually already is pretty political. I've been doing civil disobedience for the past maybe 5 years or so. So when it comes to like political discourse and things like that, I've already been in it, but I've never ran for office. So instead of doing civil disobedience alone, I'm still going to be doing that. I also thought, well, one of the ways I can make change in my community, in my state, is actually getting in office, and then I could actually change the laws in the people's favor. So that was one of the big things that got me to actually run. Another big thing is I'm running as a Democrat, even though I identify as a voluntarist, because there's only Republicans running in my district. So I'll automatically win the primaries inherently because I'm the only Democrat. And by doing that, not only will I gain popularity, I'll also be able to possibly win. And again, I would love to run as a libertarian, but unfortunately, just the state of how that works is typically you don't win. But I definitely am more libertarian than I am Democratic. But yeah, I'm running, and if you live in that district and you want to vote for me, I would say definitely should if you like liberty, because I'm only going to implement things and vote for things that are in the people's favor. That's my main goal: lawful chaos in the interest of the people.
All right, anarcho American. That's what we want. For sure. More freedom fighters in office, and that's what we want: abolishment of these bullshit ass laws that refrain us from exercising our rights and freedoms and liberties as human beings. You know what I mean? So it's very exciting to hear that that's actually what motivated you to want to run for office, is seeing the system as it is and then wanting to do something about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people that get elected or run for office say that, but to put it as succinctly as you did, to say really it's the system itself, how dysfunctional it is, how much more trouble it's caused the livelihood of free people in this country, that really pushed you to want to run for office. So I'm a bit of a I guess raptivist myself, rapper activist. So that's another thing I like about you. So I did take a little listen to your music, and I would say it's a bit more crass than my liking, but I do like some of the messages and some of your songs.
Well, the thing is, sorry, I did want to say quick, now that you mentioned it, my new music is like party bus shit. I know it has nothing to do with politics. But here's the plan. I want to release a bunch of basic stuff, get popular, and then drop an entire Liberty album. I don't think I'll ever get this big, but imagine if Post Malone out of nowhere, like if I get that big, great, but drops a voluntarist album. that would make so much more of an impact rather than if he did it in his early days. So what I'm doing right now is I'm dropping super basic music, everybody alike, gaining a fan base. And when I'm at my peak, then I'm going to drop a Liberty album. And I already have like 4 or 5 of those songs done. So it's not coming out anytime soon, but when it does, it's gonna make a shockwave, to say the least.
I'm sure. I mean, that's actually what I was about to say, was the lyrics in one of your songs in particular kind of struck a chord with me, because you're obviously a brother of the lighter shade of brown. You know what I'm saying? And you talked in your music about not police reform, but you said, I guess one of your lyrics, it was like, don't defund the police, abolish the police.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would that look like with you being a House of Representatives representative? If you were to get elected and be supporting of such a thing?
Well, I don't actually support abolition of the police entirely because I'm a voluntarist. So personally, what I want to do is I want to go live off the land and be left alone. That's what I want to do. And in a society with other people that you're doing that, I don't think police are necessary, because I want to live in a society where it's a voluntarism. We follow the principles of voluntarism and the non-aggression principle. And in a society like that, police would actually be violating both of those things on a daily basis. But at the same time, because I'm a voluntarist, if somebody wants to live in a government, I think they should be able to just as well. But I personally don't want to, and right now I don't have the option to do that. For example, if I go buy a huge plot of land, build a society, I still got to pay property tax on that, even though I bought it. And I couldn't do that if I was living off of the land. So what I'm saying is, if I want to live in a society like that, the police definitely shouldn't come to that society and start laying down the law, because that's not what I would want. At the same time, I think that there should be governments as well where the police should be reformed, but they shouldn't be abolished. So what I was saying is, in a society of people that are living off the land, police don't have to come in and take over. At the same time, in the government, there should be reform. So it is kind of, the line itself was back before I really knew more about politics and stuff, because it is an older song, but that's kind of what I was talking about. And it's kind of hard to fit all of that in like 16 bars. You know what I mean? So that's elaborating on what I mean. Yeah, police reform.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course, when you go further into depth to explain it as a policy proposal, as a legislative change, then you have to be more defined in explaining yourself. So, of course, that's understandable for you, not to have packaged it up, like you said, in 16 bars, but it does give you an idea, and it does raise a chord, as I said, because that's quite a striking statement, especially with you being someone that's from Minnesota, who has historic and national recognition for its police abuses. Philando Castile, of course, George Floyd, the list goes on and on. So it's like, for you to step up to the plate and say such a thing, is again very eye-raising. But since you did talk about the voluntarist part, I guess in the society to where you're talking about, where people would want to volunteer to protect each other, we wouldn't need a centralized force or organization to provide that protection for us. But yes, he is a rapper. Check him out. Hunter Froelich, aka EF Havoc, right there with his Twitter handle on the screen. So be sure to check him out. But yeah, with your music, talking about all of these issues, how do you think that's going to go over with your potential constituency? I don't know what's the demographic where you are, but do you think that's the type of message that would resonate with potential voters for you?
Well, to be honest, my demographic, mainly when I go on like Spotify for artists and things, are usually 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds. So they already are in the age group where they can vote. And most of them are male when it comes to my music. And I think we're just going to have to see, because honestly, this is the first time I've been running. So who knows? Maybe my music will help me get votes. Maybe it won't. But at the same time, what I want to do is I want to do part-time music, and full-time I want to work in the house and to go to panels and things like that. Right now, I still need a full-time job because neither of those are making money. But given I win, then I could do that, and I could do music. But right now, music is more of a hobby than anything. But I guess we'll just have to see, because what I want to do, like I said, is I want to do full-time music or part-time music and full-time work in the house and go to panels, talk with the people and see what they'd like. So I couldn't really tell you, because again, it's my first time running. But I would say, because my demographic when it comes to music is in the age group where they can vote, I think that most of those people would vote for me, and my demographic is mainly in my district as well. So we'll just have to see, come primaries, which are August 9th, how it turns out.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a promotional tool. It's a way for you to effectively communicate potential policy changes through a different medium, a different platform, by way of using music. I did it myself when I ran for governor of California in 2018. Made a song called Vote Libertarian. Y'all should check it out. But yeah, pretty much, hopefully it does help raise awareness. Shit, that was a good hit. Raise awareness to your campaign and get you to that point. But you did say how you want to pretty much use, I guess, focus on the full-time job of being a representative, but also being a musician at the same time. Do you think that people could see that as a potential conflict of interest, or
Absolutely.
What's that?
I said absolutely they could see that as a conflict of interest.
Are you expecting them to, or should they be worried about such a
100%,
thing?
100%. I think that people are going to say things like, well, if he's a rapper and he's making money, he shouldn't be running for office. He shouldn't be. And it's like, you can say what you want. Here's the thing. I'm a voluntarist. Those people get enough hate. And I'm a rapper. Those people alone get a hate. And I'm running for office. Those people get hate. Now you combine all three of them, people are going to say what they're going to say. And you just kind of, you got to brush it off. And if people don't like the fact that I'm rapping and I'm running for office, or I'm in office, that's on them.
Right.
But, I think that if I do get elected, people will actually see that, I'm not just a rapper that's talking about women and cars and things. Like, I do talk about that, but at the same time, I'm an intellectual, and I'm going to put, introduce legislation and change it in the favor of the people. So they can think what they want. It could be a conflict of interest, but I don't care, to be honest. It's people can think what they want. So,
well, times are changing, really. And I mean, the image of the politician, the typical politician, is definitely breaking outside the box of the typical way that it used to look. And I mean, that's mainly because all of the old ass people that was running the show are dying off. And I mean, you can look at Joe Biden and his list of cronies, Nancy Pelosi. I think she's even older than his ass. I don't know, somewhere about there. But all of the people that are running the House of Representatives, whether it's in your state or nationally, or Congress, or whatever the case may be, in government, they're all old. So we have this gerontocracy that's dictating the lives of people younger than them, and we're seeing like this generational takeover, because like I said, all of their asses are starting to die off. And so the younger people are starting to step up to the plate, like yourself. So I hope more people are encouraged by what you're doing. That feat in itself, is something that should hopefully encourage other people to follow in your footsteps. But like I said, and also in changing the status quo, you're doing that by saying, hey, I'm not your typical politician, and I'm going to attract my voters how I see fit. So shifting a little bit to, excuse me, if we may, to policy back again, because you are out there in Minnesota, and that state has had its tumultuous trials and tribulations over the past few years. So what type of proposals or policy changes other than policing are you actually I guess wanting to promote? Because I did look up your information. I don't see a website. That to me, that's a red flag because I want to look up more about you, more of what you have to offer. And you got to give the people that the regular voters, ones who don't care about your music or any of that shit, the theatrics of politics, they're going to be looking for that in some way. So how do you I guess motivate them and encourage them to want to back you?
Yeah, so one of the things, like I said, is obviously police reform, and that's just the baseline. What most people say, obviously, get rid of qualified immunity, things of that sort. I'd also like to reopen cases when it comes to things like Darren Rainey and things of that sort, and not even just in Minnesota. If I could possibly use my position to open cases in other states, like Waco, for example, absolutely. But when it comes to Minnesota specifically, obviously police reform is still a thing. But another thing that I would like to do is not even just the reform of the police. I'd like to hold lawmakers and politicians accountable for their actions, because a lot of taxpayer dollars in state level and federal level are used for things that are illegal to do, and they're never charged. I'd like to make it a level playing field where no matter where you are, no matter if you're rich, if you're broke, no matter if you're in office or out of office, you will be charged the same as somebody who is not in a position of power. For example, like if you look at what happened to the Wells Fargo CEO, what happened with him is he got paid millions to step down after breaking how many federal laws. I don't think that's how that should have gone down. I think he should have been charged the same as an accountant that worked in Wells Fargo if they took a $20 bill and got a felony, I think that people in positions of power never are charged, and they actually are above the law. So one of my major things isn't just police reform, it's reform of the criminal justice system to make sure that people that are in a position of power can be charged exactly the same as somebody who is not. And there is going to be a challenge of that, because when you introduce legislation, who are the people voting on the legislation? The people that I want to get charged. So it's going to be really hard to pass something like that. But I want to have stricter rules when it comes to the justice system. Something that explicitly, makes it where that will happen. There's also, the common things, like you said, people aren't really interested in liberty. Market rate housing is a big issue. I definitely want to, do things to lower market rate housing. Also, the homeless, especially because we take care better of our felons than we do our homeless in the United States. I want to introduce legislation to not only subsidize but help the homeless, veterans, and not. If you're homeless, you should be helped, and our government is doing almost nothing to help that, because it's a lot of nonprofits and charities that are helping the homeless, not our government. Another thing I want to do, but in Minnesota specifically, the government is not doing a lot.
Right.
Minnesota, there is way more money going to nonprofits and way more charities than the government. And yes, the government obviously is giving out, welfare and SNAP. They're giving out benefits for people. But at the same time, I've been homeless, and I'm telling you right now, as a homeless person, I got way more help from the charities and nonprofits in Minnesota than I ever did with the government.
Right. That's the same thing here in California. Most of the people that are unhoused have shared that same sentiment. Mm-hmm. And it's sad that, from coast to coast, our government is dropping the ball and helping the people that, society cares about the most. Their job is to help the people that can't help themselves. The able-bodied, the rich, whatever the case may be, they shouldn't need support from government. So as a taxpayer, when I contribute towards education or housing or whatever the case may be, I'm expecting for people to receive the best. They're not getting that at all. And when it comes to homelessness, a lot of these nonprofits and charities, etc., they are getting subsidized funding from the states, usually. They're getting a lot of money to be distributed towards that aid. So seeing as you're going to be someone that has some bit of a say in where those funds are spent and how those funds are spent, and you talk about accountability, what ways can the people expect you to improve that particularly? Exactly. Like, do you have in mind other than just generally saying so?
Yeah, like I said, I want to introduce legislation when it comes to accountability and when it comes to funds. I think that one of the big issues right now is allocation of funds. Our government is absolutely terrible at that on every level. We get how many taxpayer dollars and we're borrowing how much money. At the same time, we're going more and more into debt. It's absolutely ridiculous. So what I think I would like to do was not only introduce legislation that explicitly gives like the outlines where the money is going, because it changes every single year. I want to outline where it should go, how much it should go, and then I also would like to outsource. I'd like to get, like, if you look at what Portugal did, when it comes to the drug war, what they did is they brought in a bunch of professionals and they said, okay, how are we going to get people to stop relapsing? How are we going to get people to get better? And then the professionals, they said, well, let's decriminalize it and make it a medical condition. I think we should do that with every problem. I think we should use government funds to bring in professionals, listen to what they have to say, instead of me using and other lawmakers just assuming what's best for the people. I think we should have money subsidized and given to professionals for every single issue, not just the drug war. When it comes to homelessness, when it comes to allocation of funds, we need to bring in these people that are not in a position of power to change the laws, listen to what they have to say, and then change it in the way they think we should do it, because they're the professionals on this. Just because I might be able to change the law doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing is good. But a professional absolutely would. So we should not only use government funds to bring them in, but then listen to what they have to say and legislate on what they think we should do, because they're the professionals. And that's everything. So I think we should legislation where we would use some of government funds to bring them in and then also follow what they have to say.
So it sounds like you're more open to public input than most politicians are, because that's the biggest problem with most elected officials and, the public, is that they feel like that they're ignored, they're silenced, they're not fully being represented in this republic.
I mean, we have public servants, and a lot of like lawmakers and politicians act like they're better than them and they don't have to listen. Like,
a lot of them don't even know what you just said, that they're public servants. They think because they got that job and that power and that position, that their job is to dictate what you should be doing with your life, So good. It's good to hear that you want to reverse that trend somewhat. So would you be willing to consider implementation of blockchain technology to do record keeping, because you're talking about the budget, and making sure that there's some transparency there? Right now, there is none. Those budget proposals, they're presented to the public. A lot of them, it's information that goes over people's heads, and or either that, people aren't able to get access to that information till maybe a year or a few years, or not even at all, in some cases. So I support and fully supportive of a implementation of blockchain technology as far as record keeping. So is that something that you would be considering or would consider in making sure that you're able to hold these elected officials more accountable?
I think that transparency is really big. Obviously, when it comes to national security issues, you can't be very transparent. But when it comes to where the funds are going, who voted for what laws, when it comes to, even the background of our lawmakers, I think nothing should be censored. I think if you're going to vote for somebody and they have a record, you should be able to see their criminal record. I think that when they're elected, what they vote for should be completely transparent, what they want and what they don't want. And they can say whatever they want, but I think also funds, like you said, should be transparent. Where the funds are going should be completely 100% transparent. You don't need to say like exactly what they're going towards, but I think transparency is a big issue, because again, we're public servants and the people need to know what we're doing and what we're doing with their money, what we're voting on, what our background is, to vote for who they want to vote for. So yeah, definitely, transparency is just something that our government's really lacking in general. And I definitely would propose and even sponsor or co-sponsor legislation to do that. Because if people are going to vote for us, they should be able to see everything that we're doing and everything about our background.
Absolutely. I want to circle back because you said something about or you brought up many times about how you're a voluntarius, and with the whole, or I said something about Philando Castile and his murder by police officers. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but Philando Castile was a black man that was shot and killed by police officers, and he identified him that he had a weapon on his person. So he let it be known, I have a gun, don't trip. The cop tripped, shot into the car, killed him. His girlfriend was in the back seat. His toddler child was in the back seat. So other innocent people's lives were put at risk. So with there being lots of murmur and chatter about gun control and a change to gun laws here in our country. How do you feel, being a voluntarius, about the gun laws there in Minnesota, and what type of actions would you do, I guess, towards making those changes?
Well, absolutely. So when it comes to gun control and things of that sort, most criminals get guns from the black market, which does not change anything. No matter what I implement, even if somehow, which is not what I support in any way, shape, or form, if we illegalized all guns, then the bad guys are going to have the guns. That's just how it works. A lot of murders come from burners. They come from handguns, and that's what most of the murders in this country happen, and in Minnesota. Homicides and suicides come from handguns. But a lot of these handguns are not being bought legally. They're being bought off of the black market. So no matter what I implement, it's not going to change the fact that these burners are being bought. I think that what we should do when it comes to gun control is, obviously NICS checks are fine. We can do background checks, but we don't have to increase background checks. I think I'm one of the supporters of, if the government has it, you can have it. Because the point of guns is for the government. It's not for hunting. That's not the point. The reason our founding fathers gave us guns is because they just spent years fighting off a government for independence.
Right.
The reason we have guns, not for hunting. No matter what Biden or anyone says, it's not for hunting. It's literally to shoot the authority. And I'm not advocating.
Right.
I'm not condoning for that. But if the government has it, we can have it. That's how I see it, with one exception, and that would be nuclear weapons, because I don't think citizens should be able to have them. But for example, fully automatic firearms. You can go get a Class 3 firearms license right now. You have to submit your fingerprints to the ATF to do it. I don't think we should have that, and I want to get rid of that. I think you should be able to go to your local shop and buy a fully automatic AK-47. Now, an AK-47 is not practical. I wouldn't buy one myself, but I think fully automatic weapons should be just as legal as a pump-action shotgun. And I also think that, like I said, background checks are fine, but this increasing of it, like wait times, what does a wait time do? A wait time, just like if somebody's pissed at a guy, yeah, he can't go buy the gun now, but he can wait a week and do it. Like, why can you only buy a certain amount of guns or a certain amount of magazines? I think that anything the government has, again, we can have. And I think that...
But you said nukes. Do you think that the government should be able to have nukes if we, the people, shouldn't have access to that?
Well, I don't think people should have recreational McNukes simply because there's rich people who are crazy. That's the reason. There's going to be some dude in LA that's going to buy a nuke and light it off and shoot it to North Korea, which is going to...
Somebody can make a thermonuclear bomb. They can make a hydrogen bomb. And I mean, there's all types of bombs you can make and cause as much devastation, if not more. So, restricting someone's access to it and saying that morally, because you don't think someone should have access to that type of weaponry, I guess it kind of does not, it's not in alignment with also saying that we as citizens, as residents and occupants of this territory, should also be able to defend ourselves by any means necessary. even if that includes a nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, well, I don't think people should be able to have nukes. That's again my one reservation. If you want to go get an M1 Abrams, I think you should definitely be able to. But nukes are not meant for defense. You're not gonna like if you like. Let's say sure you're gonna nuke an army that's coming to your doorstep. Okay, not only is that going to affect the army coming to your doorstep, that's going to affect the entire world. And I don't want anyone, even, no matter how rich you are, because money is not inherently meaning that you're smarter. It's just like if some rich guy crowdfunded a missile, right? Like GoFundMe, but like on like the black market, and he's like, okay, all these people donate, and I'll buy a nuke and then nuke North Korea. A lot of people would fund that. But even if we did nuke North Korea, that's still going to affect us because the fallout and the radiation. Like,
of course.
So I don't think that people, the average person, should be able to own nukes, and I don't like the government having them. But the fact of the matter is, even if I was a president, I couldn't change that. So that's
the irresponsibility of use of that weaponry falls on whoever's hands that it's in. And so Correct. Far on the record, America is the only country that has ever used nuclear weapons. So, you know, when it comes to the big brother, you know, flaunting his dick around, you got to look at none other than the United States of America to say, hey, you're the one who has the fucking problem. You know what I mean? So if anything, moving towards disarmament of nuclear weapons altogether, because like you said, just as a human being, if you want to be responsible of our environment, you know, and what harm it can do to that and the next generation and the next and the next, you would think that we as a species would sit down at the table and say, hey, I'll get rid of my nuclear arsenal if you get rid of yours. You know, supposedly we're doing that, but you don't see that happening much.
That's
you know
not really how that works, though. That like, yeah, the reason we have nukes is it's mutually assured destruction. That's the reason our government has nukes.
Right.
If you nukes us, we'll nuke them. There's no way in the world that every
right. They don't care about anything else except for destruction, even if it includes destroying their own people. You know what I mean? So that's very alarming.
That's my one reservation. I don't think citizens should be able to have nukes. Anything else you can have. That includes miniguns, tanks, because the government has it, you can have it.
I agree, but when you're saying the government shouldn't have it, you shouldn't have it. I include nuclear weapons. So hopefully you'll take that into consideration once you get elected to actually move towards that nuclear proliferation or whatever it's called. Get rid of that shit.
I guarantee you, if I implemented legislation any time in my life to say citizens can have nukes, it probably wouldn't happen. But I do. Absolutely. Like what the first.
I'm pretty sure if you introduce legislation that said we as a country should move towards eliminating our nuclear arsenal because it is a threat to our existence as a species on this planet. You know what I'm saying? You'd have a lot of people supportive of that.
I agree with that. I'm just saying I don't think the average person should be able to own a nuke. If you want to go at a tank, go ahead. And that's what I'm going to implement, because a tank is a lot less destructive than a nuke. And I don't think people are smart. Like, yeah, they're destructive, but at the same time, we've seen time and time again, the government will roll up armored personnel carriers to a person's house because they think they're a terrorist or they think they're an extremist. Shit. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm on a terror watch list because I go out and do civil disobedience. 100%. I don't care if people aren't going to vote for me for that. I'm going to be honest. I'm very transparent, as I said. I'm for that. I'm on one. The FBI has been to my door and they've asked me questions, and I always shut the door in their face. But let's say for some reason there's some guy like me doing absolutely nothing wrong, and then they roll up armored personnel carriers to their door. What are you gonna do with the 5.56 rifle? If the time comes when you need to revolutionize, what are you gonna do? You ain't gonna do shit.
You're not gonna be able to do much of anything. You
know?
So,
yeah. I mean,
I would say the guy that had the Killdozer. Have you heard of that?
Absolutely, yeah, Marvin Heemeyer. Yeah.
There we go. See, all right. So you know the guy. They should make a movie about that shit.
They did actually. Killdozer. They did.
What? Oh, but I need to watch that and share that ASAP.
Let me look it up. Right. I think it is Killdozer. Let me just. Let me just make sure that is what it is.
Everybody see Killdozer if that is actually a movie, but even
There's
if it's
a whole
like
movie
some
about it.
bootleg shit, B movie type stuff, check it out. Because if you're talking about text would be okay, Killdozer definitely proved that is not the truth. You know, or at least other legislators may not feel that way. What?
No. It was a movie that came out in 2019. It's called Tread, and it covers both sides. It's a pretty unbiased story, actually.
All right, check it out, you guys.
Yeah, Tread. Like, have you ever seen the Waco documentary? Like, it's kind of biased towards the favor of, the cult, if you will. But at the same time, Tread is they just kind of lay out the facts. It's pretty unbiased. I've seen it, and it's actually pretty good. So Tread.
I like that. All right. Well, you guys heard it here first from candidate Froelich to check out the movie Tread, so we can definitely see what the Killdozer incident was all about. But yeah, getting away from the weaponry thing, because or I would say more so talking about that in another way, because you're running as a Democrat and the Democrats are the ones pushing this, anti-gun legislation and, messaging, et cetera, et cetera. So you did say how you're the only Democrat that will be on the ballot in a predominantly, I guess, left-leaning Democratic voting district. So, but how do you see that, I guess, weighing in your favor, other than people are just kind of stupid and vote haphazardly when they see the DNR next to people's names? So I'm glad and I applaud the fact that you're exploiting that, because
that's why I'm running as a Democrat. That's half of the reason.
Office.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, yeah, I'm exploiting it because I'm going to win the primaries because I'm the only one inherently. But at the same time, I also, even though I'm a voluntarist, I am more of a Democrat, but not a modern day one. I'm more like Hubert Humphrey or JFK, because technically they were Democratic, but they weren't, if you're with us, against us, Democratic, like the left is today. So I am Democratic, but at the same time, I still have very
JFK Democrat.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I was on a Jubilee video and we ranked each other based on conservativeness, and I got number 1. So yeah, I mean, I'm a very conservative person. I'm like JFK. He was pretty conservative and he was a Democrat. So yeah, I'm a traditional Democrat rather than a modern day one, definitely.
It's funny because, when you hear the mainstream media or lamestream or whatever the fuck you want to call them, talk about this whole conservative liberal type of titling as voters or Americans generally, they try to pigeonhole it. Like, if you're a conservative, you're an extreme alt-right, you know what I'm saying? If you're a liberal, you're a far leftist, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, but what if you're both and you're in between all of that bullshit? How do you go through the fray to kind of attract the other people that are feeling the same way? Because it just as much as I do. It's a lot of people that are out there that are sick of the fucking two-party duopoly, left, right. They could care less about it all. So can you exploit that, or are you hoping to exploit that by wearing the Democratic, the D on your name?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm the only Democrat, so that's part of the reason, because most people just vote for the letter next to somebody's name. They don't do their due diligence. And at the same time, people who do their due diligence and ask me questions and look at my posts and things of that sort, they're going to see that I am more conservative than all of the Republicans. So I'm not only banking kind of on both of those things, but I also think that, like you said, bipartisan system, completely broken. It doesn't matter if it was a tripartisan system, quad, it doesn't matter if it was a dodeca double partisan system. You're always going to leave somebody out. And that's just kind of how it is. I think policies I think political affiliation, honestly, is a way of the past. And I care about policies rather than your political affiliation. So, for example, when the president comes up, I don't care if he's a Republican. I don't care if he's a Democrat. I don't care what you are. Green Party, I don't care. I'm going to look you up. I'm going to see what your policies are rather than assume things based on your political affiliation and then vote for you based on that. I think everybody should do that. So, I mean, I could exploit the fact that it's a bipartisan system, but I honestly don't really care about that because I think it's a way of the past. I think people should start doing their due diligence, absolutely, and the person's policies rather than assume things based on what they align themselves with when it comes to being on a ballot. And that's a far stretch because most people are still going to do that, but I think it's definitely a way of the past, and I think that my policies you will find are pretty much, I mean, they're left and right. If, like when I take the politogram, I'm like definitely libertarian, a little bit more to the right, but I'm pretty centered on that graph.
Mm-hmm.
So,
All
yeah.
right. Well, when is the election? And hopefully people will see this interview and be excited to jump behind you because, you said a lot of great things during the time that we talked. But of course, people need to know when to vote. You got some dummies out there. So let them know when to vote, where to
Yeah, the
vote, how to
primaries.
vote, all of
Yeah,
that good shit.
great. Yeah, the primaries are coming up on August 9th here. There's a fly going around, which is why I keep swatting my hands.
You good?
Primaries are August 9th. The general election is on November 8th. So if you want to vote, honestly, the best way to do it, do you remember the website link? There's a link that tells you how to do it. What was it?
What are
Geez.
you talking about?
There's a website where all you got to do is you got to put in your state and where you live, and it tells you how to vote. I forgot what the link was though. Geez, what was it
I'm
called?
not sure. I know there's Ballotpedia.
Okay, Ballotpedia is a good one.
Check out more about the candidates based on where they are.
Yeah, I'm on Ballotpedia. Yeah, I'm blanking really. This is terrible. I should definitely know the link. I know I'm going to think of it later. But honestly, you can just go on Google and type in how to vote. I could explain it, but it's different based on where you are, where to go to vote. So I would just say look up how to vote. And again, August 9th is the primaries, and the general election is November 8th. So if you got to miss the primaries, that's fine. But definitely get to the ballot box on November 8th, and vote for me if you support what I said.
So you're that confident that you're going to get through the primary? I mean, you guys don't have all right, so in California, we have a top two system. So basically, it's the top two vote getters, no, regardless of party, are the ones that proceed through to the general. So you can have two Republicans, two Democrats, etc., whatever, go head to head in the general election. So why are you so confident that you're going to proceed through the primary, which is
Minnesota? It's based on party. So there's a Democratic one and there's a Republican one. And because I'm a Democrat, I'm going to make it through.
Wow. and the primary is what date again, man?
August 9th.
August 9th, you guys. So that's next week, Tuesday. Perfect timing. I'm glad you were able to make it on. Hopefully the people around town will see this video, get you more votes. The more, the better. I mean, you're still going to make it through the primary. You just pointed out, even if you get 1%, 5%, whatever fucking percent, it's going to get you through to the general where you'll be the only Democrat on the ballot in November, going against whatever Republican, I guess, that they decide to throw money behind or whatever. But that's a very exciting position to be in because not too many free-thinking people that are running for office, such as yourself. I know you don't want to call yourself a libertarian. You sound like a libertarian. You can roll like a libertarian. I think we're all libertarians at heart, just generally speaking. In the philosophy of what it is to be an American, we should all be a libertarian.
Yeah, we founded this country based on individual rights,
exactly,
which is kind of fucked because 82% of people in federal prisons are in there for victimless crimes, which is a whole thing in and of itself. But we did found the country based on individual rights. So I think most Americans would be libertarian, but they won't call themselves that. I get what you're saying. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, but they definitely should. But even though you are not calling yourself a libertarian, you definitely sound like one because you're promoting the liberty of individuals, that autonomy and individual rights inalienable rights that our country was founded on. So that is in essence what we should be tapping into. More candidates like you should be smarter, to do what you're fucking doing, man. Because all right, so that was my I guess fight with the libertarians here in California. Is I'm like, the Republican Party is wide fucking open. I mean, they're dead in California, dead in the water. We could easily, take over the shit. And now we get some people elected. So you're right. When it comes to libertarians getting elected, unfortunately, they're not smart enough to come up with the game plan that will get them in office, and secure that position enough to where they can make those effective changes. Hopefully, you'll be leading by example by getting elected come November.
That's why I picked Democrat. Like, you can tell that I'm a libertarian, but I'm not going to run that because then people wouldn't vote for me. I mean, it's the sad. So yeah, if I get elected and I do a good job, you bet your ass next year I'm going to put libertarian in the ballot, because once I'm elected and I do good things, people will know my name, and then they'll vote based off of name rather than party.
Exactly. And that's all that fucking matters. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, what you do in office, once you do it, that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad to hear that you plan on picking up the libertarian flag once you do actually get elected. You know what I'm saying? Just to stake one for the homies. You know what I'm saying? They say we got this. But yeah, I mean, I really feel like with what you just told me about, how it works out with your election there, you may end up wiggling your way into office here, man. So people need to get serious about your election, and hopefully they'll throw some money behind your campaign. Are you accepting donations or anything like that? I mean,
yeah, I got a PayPal link, and all of those funds are going towards things like, and I haven't had a lot of donations, I'll be honest. Most people, like, I haven't had a PAC donation or anything of that sort yet, but I do have a few sponsorships just from organizations here and there. But yeah, I'm actually I am definitely accepting donations. All of those things will go towards things like yard signs, etc., advertisements. And I could drop the link in the studio chat here if you wanted to post it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll drop that on my outro. Make sure people get that information, because I know how hard it is as a grassroots candidate to do fundraising, especially when people don't take you seriously because you don't have the fame or the fortune. For some reason, people give you more money when you seem like you already got money. Like, that makes fucking sense, But
yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. But I did just drop the link, so yeah, anyone
for sure, I got that here.
Go towards my campaign, 100%.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. Well, I'm dropping the information for the PayPal. Hold on. All right, let me make sure that's right. All right, so there it is right there on your screen. Please contribute to my man, Hunter Froelich. He is running for Minnesota House of Representatives. What, District 10 again?
District 10B, correct.
Yeah. District 10B, like, boy, that's weird as hell. But
we have districts, and then there's a district regular, and then a district B for every district. I don't know why they did it that way. It's not District 11; it's just District 10B.
It sounds more like gerrymandering, something.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah,
so terrible here. For sure. Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you for being here again on the Black Side of Liberty, my man Hunter Froelich, aka EF Havoc. Please definitely check him out right there at the bottom of the screen. My friend, I appreciate you being here. We definitely got to talk again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, take care until next time. Peace. All right, you guys. That again is Hunter Froelich, who is running for Minnesota House of Representatives. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Michigan, but Minnesota House of Representatives, District 10B, like boy. Please definitely check him out right there at the bottom of your screen. You can connect with him on Twitter or on Instagram. He also has a SoundCloud. Check out his music, and also be sure to contribute Whatever you can, every little bit helps. He is going to make it to the general election in November, which means he will be a top 2 candidate, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. There may be libertarians and independents and other candidates, but when it comes to the Democrat and the Republican, he will be on that top 2 ticket. Hunter Froelich, make a contribution right there at his paypal.com/PayPal me /Hunter Froelich. Every little bit helps. I know it myself, and you know it too. Put your money where your mouth is and start voting with your dollars. We need it from coast to coast. It don't matter where you are. Make a contribution. It definitely helps in fighting the good fight. All right. Also, speaking of course, you guys can connect with me on social media if you haven't already, at Governor Wildstar on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. I'm being shadow banned and whatever the case may be, censored, all that bullshit. So subscribing helps, liking, commenting, all that good stuff to help show that I'm getting engagement with my posts and improve that YouTube algorithm, because that's all they care about is the metrics. So help me change those metrics by sharing. Also, sharing is caring. Make sure we can get more eyes and ears to this candidate who is running, as well as this show, because I got other people planned in the future that I'm going to be having on as well, and want to get them to be seen as well. Okay, so be sure to connect with me and let's stay connected. I build our network. And also, you guys, be sure to check out TaxationisTheft.info. You know what it do. Check it out. Buy all of your Taxation is Theft merchandise, t-shirts, bumper stickers, mugs, all that good stuff. You can buy it at TaxationisTheft.info and use my code GOWILD2022. You'll get a discount on all of your merchandise that you purchase from the website. All right, get the message out there about how taxation is theft. If you're not giving it away willingly, then it is being taken from you involuntarily, and that in a sense is theft. Okay, if I just did the shit, you'd be like, hey, why you steal from me, man? We let the government do that shit for some reason. Please just say no to involuntary taxation by saying taxation is theft, buying the merchandise from the website and getting that message out there to others. All right. Also, be sure to head over to nugofknowledge.com. All my THC CBD consumers out there. I don't want to call you all smokers, because shit, we got gummies now and tinctures and all types of shit. You can drink a soda and get high and shit. So check it out. THC, CBD, Delta 8 products right there at nugofknowledge.com. Use my code WILDSTAR and you will get a discount on all of your high potency products here from nugofknowledge.com. And know that every purchase from Nug of Knowledge goes towards fighting the war on drugs. You definitely want to be sure to do that, because we want to end that war on drugs. It's led to too many people's lives being taken. My man Hunter Froelich sent me this. Tax, a compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on workers' income and business profits, or added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions. Yeah, so we definitely want to make sure we are stopping with the taxes. And you can not pay any taxes on your Nug of Knowledge products, so definitely be sure to make all of your purchases, again, to fight the war on drugs, and use Wildstar as that code so you can get a discount, okay? And, of course, all of you freedom fighters that want to drink the blood of tyrants, head on over to BloodOfTyrants.wine. Use my code GOWILD, all right? And you will get $5 off if you're shipping. Definitely be sure to buy Blood of Tyrants wine. This wonderful Merlot is a special selection by the freedom fighters that brought you Nug of Knowledge and Taxation is Theft. So we want to keep that freedom network, fully funded. And this is a way that we can do it and have some fun, get the message out there. Check out BloodOfTyrants.wine. We got Halloween coming up. It would be a great drink to be serving to your guests at your Halloween parties and all that good shit. So check it out. And again, use my code to get a discount on shipping. All right. So, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. If you want to contribute to me, do so through Cash App, $ Governor Wildstar right now. I would appreciate it. Of course, every little bit helps because I want to make sure that I can get more guests on, actually do some promoting of videos, YouTube ads and shit like that. And of course, that costs. I also want to get other guests on in the future. And of course, if I'm not having on, or if I'm having on guests, then I can't be working and shit like that. So help a brother out. Cash App, $ Governor Wildstar. Thank you, thank you. And of course, share and subscribe. That's what's most important. Even if you're not giving with your money, give with your attention, with your mind, because that's what the rich people are out there paying for. They're paying all the money in the world so you can pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on right here with the fight for freedom, because we are introducing liberty-minded candidates who want to free us, we the people, by fighting this system from the inside. And I'm going to be talking to some of those establishment leaders. I got plans to talk to a police chief, possibly. And if that happens, we're definitely going to have an interesting conversation. So stay tuned, of course. The way that you can do that is by subscribing. So do that now. And till next time, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. So I love you guys. I'm out of here. Peace. Long live liberty.